Welcome to the home team, the show where no matter who you root for, here you're a part of the home team. Today, we are previewing the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, kicking off in Kansas City. So before we jump in, hit like, hit subscribe, share the video with anyone you know who likes football. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Without any further delay, let's jump in. So, Kansas City Chiefs, Houston Texans. The Texans, coming off a big win over the Chargers in the wild card round, travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Could have some weather factors today. I know that that's a potential with a lot of these teams. Um, if that's the case, Houston's a pretty warm weather city. They play in a dome. Um, Something to look out for. I don't imagine it would affect the Chiefs as much. So going into this game, what are we thinking? Obviously, Kansas City is the favorite and probably should be. Of all the teams that were coming in to the playoffs for the AFC, this was sort of the matchup I wanted to see the least, other than maybe the Steelers going to Kansas City. But I don't necessarily love the odds of the Texans. However, I do think that they have a path to victory. Number one, they have to be able to run the ball. And if they can't run the ball, then they have to quickly pivot to the quick passing game, because I think that this is a game where they need to limit the possessions of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City offense is not necessarily a great offense, but what they are is good at figuring things out. So by the second half, they can make plays that they figured out by their adjustments from the first half. I think you need to limit the possessions of the Chiefs, limit their opportunities to learn, limit their opportunities to adjust. And then on their defense, if there's one advantage that they have over the Kansas City Chiefs, and really I would say there's two, but their primary advantage is Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter against those two offensive tackles of the Chiefs. The Chiefs' offensive tackles are not good, to say the least. They're by far the biggest weakness of the offense. And after that, it's got to be Derek Stingley Jr. and Kamari Lassiter against the Chiefs receivers. They have advantages in those spots. So on the edges of this defense, the Texans have advantages. And I would say that in order for them to win, they're going to have to win those matchups one-on-one and forcing situations where it becomes one-on-one as often as possible. You can't let Kansas City run on you at all. Set hard edges in the run game. Let the linebackers come up and fill in the other spots. They're not as strong on the defensive interior, but it's not a true weakness. But Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson need to have their wins, and when they don't win in the run game, those corners need to come up and tackle as well. And put the Chiefs in must-pass situations where the corners and edge rushers can really tee off. That's the best shot of the Texans' defense, in my opinion. Obviously, C.J. Stroud and the Texans' offense have not had an outstanding year, and Kansas City's defense is a very good group. I think that if the Texans are going to have success, they've got to be running the ball, not just for the fact of you're trying to help your defense and limit the possessions for Kansas City, but because this offensive line has not had an outstanding year for the Texans either, and the last thing you need is Kansas City being able to just tee off on C.J. Stroud. You need to be able to keep them honest, keep them unbalanced, and if they're not able to do that, I suspect this is probably going to be a pretty nice day for the Kansas City defense. If it is a cold day, if it is snowing, as it is all across the country this weekend, then you really can't be stuck in must-pass situations. And I don't know. I got a sense from this game that as much as I would love the Texans to win this game, and I hope they win this game, it's tough to pick against the Chiefs in this situation. Unfortunately, I would say that it's whoever comes out of that Bills-Baltimore game that's going to have to be the one that knocks off Kansas City. And I think that whoever does is the better team. To be clear, I think that Bills-Ravens game is the matchup between the two best teams in the AFC. However, as I'll get to in that game, there is a team in there that the Chiefs match up with really well. And so we'll see. but I'm going to take the Chiefs begrudgingly. Um, I'm rooting for the Texans, but I think they have a very specific path to victory. Whereas if the game just goes more like kind of normal, I would say that the Chiefs have more opportunities for victory. So I'll take the Chiefs, much to my chagrin. And then tonight we have the Commanders and the Lions. So this is a game where weather won't be a factor. The game's in Detroit. Obviously, it's in a dome. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are coming off a win in Tampa Bay, where it was pretty back and forth for most of the game, and then big fumble from Baker Mayfield is sort of the thing that swings it for the Commanders. Where do I think the Commanders have advantages in this game? Because it's pretty clear if you just look at the two teams, the Lions are the better team. And I'll say this. If Washington wins this game, it's going to have a lot more to do with rust from Detroit and Detroit helping them out than Washington being the better team. So where do I think Washington has an edge? Number one, Jaden Daniels is a good player, and he's going to have to run and be dynamic and do some things that get out of the traditional structure of plays. Because if it's all within structure, Detroit man for man will match up and probably win. Even while they're in like a more injured state, they are coming off a week of rest, and they are just still better. Like there's just no other great way to describe it. So offensively, that's what's going to need to happen because the Lions are going to be creative. Terry McLaurin is a tough matchup, but other than that, Washington isn't really throwing somebody out there that on paper should give the Lions defense too much trouble. So I think they're going to do everything they can to eliminate Terry McLaurin. They're going to try to keep Jaden Daniels in the pocket and try to keep everything on schedule, essentially. They're going to want quick wins from their defensive line. And I suspect that Washington, it's going to come down to Washington's offense if they win this game, in my opinion. Because I don't think there's too much of a chance that Washington defense shuts down Detroit's offense. If they can keep Detroit's offense sub 30, I think that would be a good job. And it's going to be Washington's offense. I think this is going to be a game where you're going to have to hit the very high 20s or the low 30s to have a chance to beat Detroit. And do I think it's going to happen? No. I think that they could probably get somewhere around 21-24 out of the Washington offense. I think that you could maybe, I suppose the best path to victory if you're Washington is this. You come out and you hope that Detroit's offense is a little out of sync coming off the bye week, and you have to capitalize fast and get them down and make them deal with the emotional panic of like, oh my God, we've had this awesome year. We're about to lose it all right here. And you hope that they get tense. In terms of Washington's defense, your issue is just very simple. That offensive line of the Detroit Lions is a monster. And the defensive line of Washington is decent, but they're not a monster. Detroit's going to run the ball. Detroit's going to play aggressive. You're going to have to stop Detroit in 4 downs sometimes instead of 3. And perhaps there's your opportunity as well. When it comes to those key situations when they go for it on 4th down, you have to stop them. Because they could be driving. It could be great. They could have got down to like the 15-yard line or whatever it is, and it's 4th and 3, and they want to be aggressive. If you stop them in that one play scenario, you undo all the damage of however long the drive was to get there. I think that's probably what it is. Washington really has to win the crucial downs on defense. And that's not just 3rd down. Like I said, Detroit's a team that they're going to take their chances on 4th down. And that means that if you just win a few plays in the game, if they go for it on 4th down 4 times, and you win 2 of them or 3 of them, um, then you're potentially taking 21 points off the board, like from the Lions, if that's what they're willing to do. Um, so I think Washington's defense is going to give up plays. They're going to give up yards. It's going to be that type of thing. But if they can really just hone in those moments, those one play scenarios, that's Washington's defense best chance. Because I don't expect them play for play, man for man, playing up and standing up against Detroit's offense. So I think that's what it's got to be. Washington's defense wins crucial downs, and Washington's offense has to not take negative plays and try to hit somewhere in the high 20s to low 30s. Because I still think that Detroit is a smart team and they pivot fast, and you're going to have a hard time, shutting down everything that they do all the time. So I am going to take Detroit in this game. I hope Detroit wins because I want them to win the conference. But I believe that Washington could potentially make this a little more feisty than we would expect, perhaps. There is a chance this game becomes a blowout where, like, if Detroit doesn't skip a beat and they just come out healthy and rejuvenated, I think you're looking at a game that could get away from Washington if they don't start fast. But I hope it's a good game, but I hope Detroit wins, and I think they will. Moving on to tomorrow, Eagles-Rams in Philadelphia. Rams coming off of a win over the Vikings in the wild card round, and the Eagles coming off a win over who the hell was it? I just totally blanked. I'll get there eventually. So either way, this is another game where it could be snow, and I would say that that's pretty concerning. The Eagles beat the Packers. There it is. Sorry, I was finding it. There could be snow in this game, and I think that has the potential to affect a team from Los Angeles more than a lot of other teams. But we'll see. I also trust Sean McVay a lot. So, how have these teams looked down the stretch? Both of them are kind of streaky. Eagles defense is the reason they're winning. The Eagles offense has been pretty underwhelming for a little while now, and I would say that this game has really one key to it, and it's Rams offense has to score against Eagles defense. Because I think that while the Eagles offense is talented, it seems pretty clear that if you can just stop Saquon Barkley in that running game, you have a pretty good shot of stopping the Eagles offense. Like, as talented as their receivers are, they're not on the same page with Jalen Hurts all the time. And every time that it gets put on that passing game, it doesn't come together. And attribute it to whatever you like. Jalen Hurts not being what everybody thought he was. Receivers not being fully engaged because they're not getting the ball right when they want it. I haven't heard much go at the coaching on that, but that's usually always an element of the coaching staff isn't always reading what's going on correctly in the room and on the field, and as a result, they're not maximizing their talent. I would say that if Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, that whole group, if they can do some work against the Eagles defense, they will probably win this game. Like, Philadelphia is an odd team where they're talented, very talented, but you don't feel good about them because they just it's always weird. There's always something that didn't go right. Like, they never really play up to their full potential as a team, it feels like. And I think that that's the type of thing that usually comes back to bite a team. But Howie Roseman did such a good job putting this team together that it's not always so simple. The biggest issue for the Rams offense, it's twofold with the Eagles defense. The Eagles secondary has become very good, particularly two corners. Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell have played well. Darius Slay's a good corner, obviously, but he hasn't been like the premier guy in the secondary this year. Reed Blankenship and C.J. Gardner-Johnson are two safeties. They are competent safeties, not necessarily game changers, but they're very good in their roles and aren't likely to let something get super far over their head. So I think to beat the Eagles, you have to go in accepting that you have to start off being very methodical and balanced. And outside of Jalen Carter, I wouldn't be super worried about the Eagles' defensive line, but in terms of star power, but they do have a rotation of guys. Um, so they run deep there with Jalen Carter being a star, and the Rams' offensive line isn't bad. It's not great, like it's not one of the best offensive lines in the league, but it is a good group, and they are going to really be a key to winning this game because the key to this type of offense, the Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur, McDaniel, like that whole vein of offense, it's running the ball and play action passing. And it's going to be essential in this game. You need to be able to bring those linebackers up. You need to be able to bring those safeties up. You need to be able to cause confusion. And, Vic Fangio calls a great defense, and he's got a talented bunch. So to do it, the Rams, you're going to sort of have to just win one-on-one matchups here. And I think with Puka Nacua, he can win one-on-one matchups against anyone not named like Patrick Surtain. But there's not a corner on the Eagles where you're like, we can't be afraid to attack them. Like, they don't have somebody like that. So I think that's what there's got to be. It's got to be run the ball. We start off with just crossing routes, man and zone beaters, just things that get you in a really easy rhythm right away. Don't give the Eagles the chance to, like, right away just 3-and-out you, and now their momentum's high. Like, we don't need to be starting this game off with any like bombs or something like that. Get the offense in a rhythm, get their confidence going, because when the Rams' offense is going, they can score with anybody. So I'd say do that, and then just hope that the Eagles' offense takes a little bit of time to settle in. The biggest issue with the Eagles' offense, more than anything else, is their offensive line. It's huge. They are so good. Them and Detroit are the two best offensive lines in the league, and depending on the day, one's better than the other, but they're both excellent at pretty much all times. And if you're the Rams, you got a young group on defense. I would hope you're able to win that matchup, but it's going to be tough. You're probably going to need to bring a safety down into the box. But the priority should be Saquon Barkley and overwhelming that run game, not by just beating them man-to-man, but well-timed run blitzes. You got to beat them with math, like numbers. They cannot be able to go anywhere and have a clear edge. I would rather, if I'm going to lose this game, it's because Jalen Hurts managed to beat me. You can't let the run game be the thing that does it. But I think Philly's way more talented. I think that they're at home, and if it's snowing, it's a huge advantage. But I'm going to take the Rams because A, I want to, and B, I just think that the Eagles are. Listen, they could go win the Super Bowl, and I wouldn't be shocked. But they just feel like a team that is ready to like combust. They feel like they don't like each other. And I think that if the Rams could get them down, that could come out. So I'm going to take the Rams against my better judgment because I do acknowledge that the Eagles are better. But I'm just hoping for it. Okay, so last game, the big game, Ravens at Bills. This could be another snow game. I mean, if it's snowing in Colorado, you can bet your ass it's snowing in Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, are the best team in the AFC. However, I think the Baltimore Ravens are the worst matchup for them. Buffalo is built to be a very modern team. They are built to play a lot of pass defense. They're built to be quick. They're built to be multiple. They're built to be, they're built to have options with what they do. However, what that type of build and what that type of philosophy does not usually match up well against is a team that decides we are going to run straight at you over and over and over again. I know Zay Flowers is doubtful for this game, so that helps the Bills out significantly. But Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. If you were, I cannot express this enough. If without Zay Flowers out there, it's got to be, hey, corners, we pay you for a reason. You're going to be on an island quite a bit here, because we have to commit everything to stopping that run game, because it's the one thing that, like, listen, if I'm going to lose to the Ravens, okay, fine. They're a great team. Maybe they beat us, but we can't lose to the Ravens letting them do what they like to do. Like, if they're going to rise above their perceived weaknesses and still beat us, then good on you. We'll shake your hand. But if I'm the Bills, I am not going out by getting run over. Like, we will throw everything at that run game, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I mean, if I'm the Bills, we're not a big team. This team, we've had issues with run defense in the past. You have to just sell out for it, because without Zay Flowers, the passing game's not as dangerous. Without Zay Flowers, the most dangerous pass catchers are the tight ends. And I just, man, I think the Bills could beat basically anybody, but I just don't know if they can beat Baltimore, because I think that they might be better, like, in most categories. But I think Baltimore, styles make fights, and this is a really tough style for the Bills. But this is like a rock, paper, scissors thing in the AFC. I saw that as, like, that was positive, and I think it's so true. It's rock, paper, scissors in the AFC between the top three, where it's the Chiefs are not a good matchup for the Ravens. The Ravens are not a good matchup for the Bills. The Bills are not a good matchup for the Chiefs. Like, it's like they were all built to be kryptonite for one another. And I'm rooting for the Bills. But their path to victory is they have to be a little further outside of themselves on the defensive side of the ball. And usually my philosophy when picking these games is, what's the team that has to do more or something way different from how they normally play, and that's the team that's more likely in trouble here, and that's the Bills. Take Kansas City. They got a big defensive line. They got big linebackers. They got corners who they're very comfortable manning up on guys. I think that they have a very good chance of just being able to shut down the Ravens. But the Bills, who are a little lighter up front, lighter in the front seven on the whole, built to be a little faster, more athletic, to play in coverage, that's not awesome here. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, I know people want to debate the MVP thing. I don't really care. I think it doesn't really matter. They're both different, and they're both right for their teams for different reasons. I guess I'll give my 2 cents on it. I would give the MVP to Josh Allen, because I think if you look at the teams and the expectations of them going into the season, Josh Allen had to do a lot more with a lot less. And I think that if you took him off the Bills versus Lamar off the Ravens, one would still be very good and the other would be missing the playoffs. So I would do it like that. I know everybody's going to point to statistics, how Lamar has more statistics. I don't really care. But it's an MVP showdown in this game, essentially. But, man, I also think that this leads a question of I keep trying to delay this video until after this weekend, where I want to break down the head coaching jobs and where I think they should go, because I think there are 2 jobs where if the teams lose this weekend, they could come open. And I think that one of those jobs is the Bills and the other is the Eagles, where if they fall short in the divisional round again, like in the case of the Bills, if they keep hitting their head in this same damn place, and it happens because they get run over on defense, which is Sean McDermott's side of the ball, I think Buffalo would make a change. And so I keep trying to wait, but I don't love it. But I think this is big for the Bills. Like, they made it to the AFC Championship in 2020. And ever since then, they keep hitting their head in the divisional round. And listen, while I acknowledge this is a horrible draw for them with Baltimore, if you're the Bills, you still got to go out there and win this game. And if you're not winning, if you can't go out there and win this game, I got to wonder what's missing. And I keep calling back to John Fox during his days with the Broncos, where he got them really, really close. Got him to a Super Bowl, got him to another AFC Championship, like the year, uh, oh, yeah, no. Was it the AFC Championship? It was. It's the Peyton Manning years where John Fox was really competitive, where they lost in 2012 to the Ravens in the divisional round in a crazy game, double overtime. 2013 lose the Super Bowl. 2014 they lose in the divisional round again against the Indianapolis Colts. And after that, the Broncos decided to make a change because they were like, we just feel that the ceiling of this team isn't where it needs to be with John Fox. Like, we appreciate everything you did. You helped get the franchise back on track. They bring in Gary Kubiak the next year, and they won the Super Bowl the next year. Granted, it was a different type of year than they probably would have expected, where it was really their defense that went and won the Super Bowl. But I think that more teams should consider this, where it's like, we appreciate you bringing the Bills back to relevance. They were bad for a long time, but we keep hitting our head in the same place, and we have Josh Allen. It's like, if the Bills were to make a change, and they were to go to Ben Johnson, for instance, I would be interested in what he would say to coaching Josh Allen. So I just think the Bills would have options if they lose this game. So, as for Baltimore, how do you stop this game? Simple. You stop Josh Allen. It's not that simple, really, but I think that they need to stop the Bills' run game with James Cook, because the Bills' receivers, while there are several of them, there's not one that truly scares you. So get yourself in a situation where you're able to tee off on Josh Allen and force a lot of the B receivers, essentially, like that collection of B level receivers, force them to beat you and beat you quick. Get Josh under pressure and hope he has to force a throw before the guy's been able to win his route and make the plays then. I think other than that, the Bills' offense has a chance to thrive. I think this is a game that really is going to come down to the defenses. Which defense does not crumble worse? And I suppose to wrap it all up, I hope the Buffalo Bills win this game. I want them to win this game. My ideal Super Bowl from the start, once the Niners were out, was Bills-Lions. Like, that's the Super Bowl I want. I want a matchup of teams that haven't won the Super Bowl before, and just like the feel-good teams, essentially. Because if I have to watch the Chiefs and the Eagles play for a Super Bowl again, it's going to suck. But I'm hoping the Bills win, but I think the Ravens are going to win. I think that Baltimore is just a horrible draw. And as much as I like the Bills, I think Josh Allen's the better quarterback. I think that the Ravens are just more talented. I think that they're better coached. I think, by the way, the change in Buffalo could just be they retain Joe Brady as the coach. He's getting looks elsewhere. I've suspected this could happen in Tampa Bay too. Probably not this year, as Liam Cohen probably needs another year as the offensive coordinator there, but he's going to be a real candidate for head coaching jobs next year in all likelihood. I wouldn't be shocked if Tampa Bay just removes Todd Bowles to retain Liam Cohen. And I wouldn't be shocked if that happened in Buffalo. But if you're the Bills, I do think you need to look at your options if you lose this game. And I think they will. I'll be rooting for them like mad. I don't want an AFC championship again of the Ravens and Chiefs. This whole thing of all the same teams being here repeatedly is not great, and it's not what the NFL wants. And I think that we need a different final two in the AFC, in my opinion, to keep the interest up. And I think everybody, no matter what, all of America will, outside of a specific area in Missouri and Kansas, will be pretty much rooting for whoever wins this game against the Chiefs, I imagine. Or who knows, maybe the Texans will shock us and everything will be a little bit more exciting. But I expect that the Final Four will be the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Lions, and I'm hoping the Rams, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's the Eagles. So hopefully they're all good games. Hopefully the weather doesn't do anything too crazy in terms of really messing up one team. It's always unfortunate when that happens, but this is a part of the game. This is football. We play outdoors, and this is a game that's meant to be played outdoors. So, hope everybody has a great weekend. Once again, hit like, hit subscribe, and let's have a great divisional round. Peace.